Hello, this is Cece with WGSN-DB Going Solo Network, and welcome to the show. This is Going Solo with Cece, and you all know me. We have been around for a while now, but we talk about various different items going through maybe relationship loss to recovery, transition of dating, relationships. And today we have this fantastic guest with us, and her name is Laurae Lauritch, and she is her lifelong journey has been one of exploring sexual spirituality and relationship that both with our bodies, our health, our connections with the world. She maintains and practices in Sacred Sexuality Coaching, incorporating mindfulness practices, energy and sound healing, and sexology bodywork. So that's a lot for me to say. Wow, how did you get into this? How did you get into this type of field of work?
Well, it goes back to my 20s, and throughout my life, I'll do the Campbell soup condensed version since we don't have a lot of time. As I was growing up, and even as a child in grade school, I was interested in metaphysics. I would go with my girlfriend to the library, and we would get books on ESP and psychic phenomena and those kinds of things. So I was always interested in metaphysical concepts, like why am I here? What am I supposed to be doing with my life? My purpose, my role, that kind of thing. And so that's always been a foundation in who I am. And then my other quest and passion was understanding my own sexuality, which didn't really happen until I started to date in college. And being brought up Catholic, there's a lot of negativity around the body and around sexuality and sexual expression and sexual behavior. So I had to make a decision as to learn. And I really, once I became active, I wanted to know what to do with someone. And these two passions kind of merged for me when I moved to California back in '89, and it was at a Tantra intensive in '98 that the light bulb went off for me. And it's like these two passions, sexuality and spirituality, converged. And ever since then, I've been taking classes and courses and trainings and going to conferences and understanding the body, understanding pleasure, helping people and myself, my own exploration of freeing my own guilt and shame around my body and sexual expression. And I wanted to help people with that as well. So that's why I got into this.
It's terrific. It truly is. Yeah. You know, it's kind of a subject that some people don't like to talk about. Some people talk about it a lot, but it's really so very important, and as we're moving through, especially relationship loss, because there's a lot that we deal with that. Mm-hmm. And we have to come about, and we have to look at, really our whole being. And I think our sexuality is very important to that, because a lot of us come from, broken relationships of where you're going through a lot of pain. And then you move through the transition of dating, mm-hmm. wanting to connect with someone else, still having, a bit of your past there behind. So you're kind of moving through a lot of stuff that's going through. And what I liked so much about your particular site and everything it's the reawakening of the divine within. And mm-hmm. I thought that is so good, because that is really, I think, as we move through the transition of dating and going into really our next life, our next journey, to be able to reawaken and explore who you are, your passions, being able to connect with someone else. Mm-hmm. I think it's totally awesome what you do.
I think I want to clarify, for a lot of people, and especially through our religious upbringing, there's a prohibition around sex. However, sexuality is something entirely different. It's this innate energy and force that is used for creativity and manifestation and how we express ourselves to the world. So it has really nothing to do with the biological act of sex. It's this expression, soul expression, so to speak, of ourselves in the world. And so I think there's a lot of confusion around sex and sexuality.
Oh, I think that's great that you explained that, because you're probably so right. And even my mindset a little bit too is geared towards that. So yeah, definitely.
Mm-hmm. And I do help people in the sexual realm, but I think this bigger piece of what we need to uncover and what needs to be unfolded is this larger nature of ourselves, the sexuality aspect of who we are.
Yeah. Yeah, I totally agree. And I think as we're moving through into really finding, redefining our lives, finding out who we are, being able to be more in tune with that is so great, because it does open up us. It's almost like a flower. You're starting to blossom open, you know, reawakening, and to yourself, to your creativeness, you know, to really your whole being. And so it's very important aspect of our whole, I think, our whole universe as an individual.
So these practices from there's Eastern practices that come from China and from India. Some are from the yogic tradition, and Tantra is a subset of yoga, of how to raise your sexual energy. So again, it's not about being the act of sex, but the sexual energy is energy for creativity and manifestation. And it's this seed piece to help us carry through, and what motivates us in our life to experience the world in a greater sense.
Right.
So there's breathing practices, there's ways to connect and build this life force, which is called prana or chi. And I think in the Christian sense, it would be called grace. And there's this understanding that this essence of the divine, whether you believe it, you have a certain specific religious conviction or not, but God's grace or presence permeates everything in the universe. So how do we bring that essence of him or her into our souls to then affect our physical body, which can affect our mental state, our emotional state, our health, and our soul. So those are the things that I'm kind of working holistically when I do coach people, rather than just if you would go to a doctor, he's more interested in your physical body or the problem that you have. If you go to a psychiatrist or a therapist, they're interested in what's going on psychologically and with your mental state. I'm kind of working mind, body, spirit, and seeing people as an integrative whole, as opposed to separate pieces of ourselves.
Right. Well, and I think too, as we move forward and we wanted to connect with someone else, we want to, you know, to be able to get out there and start dating and such, we need to connect with ourselves. And so our mind, body, spirit, our heart, you know, our core, all of that is so very important to us to be able to get more centered. So, and as you said, to be able to raise your vibration, so that you can attract someone more like-minded to you. So I think it's good to be more in tune with you and how you do that. Can you tell us a little bit about like some of the steps that, if you're interested, let's say we've got listeners out there that are seeing that there's places within them that they can, you know, work on, and that they can, you know, strive to improve. What kind of you know, elements can you share with them so that they can kind of embrace a little bit more, and then maybe possibly contact you to be able to further help themselves to be able to be more in touch with this?
Sure. So I think if you're not in a relationship, or if you've been in past relationships, I think this is a really good thing to do, is to make a list of what you desire in a partner and what you don't want in a partner, and go back into so if you've been with people, what worked, what are the physical characteristics of someone that may be appealing to you, what kinds of do they need to be financially independent, do they need to do spiritual and psychological work on themselves, you know, what are those pluses, what do you not want, what will you not accept from somebody, Do you want somebody who smokes? Do you not want somebody who smokes? Do you want somebody who's in recovery? Do you not want somebody who's in recovery? Those are kind of a list that you may want to create for yourself so that you can have a clear idea about who to draw to you. And if you've been in past relationships, you may want to look at the people who you've had in your life and see what those characteristics were. And if you've had numerous people, are you repeating the same pattern?
Oh, that's such a great bit of information right there. And I think as we're looking back on past relationships, we can pick out the things that are positive, the things that we did like, because I think that does help us to move forward in our lives. But it is so important to also understand the negative part of it too a little bit, and to see if there is, like you were saying, is there a pattern within what we're looking for, and then to better understand why those
are coming up. And then you might want to look at then your family of origin. Are you reproducing your parent? Is that person your mother, or is that person your father that's you're bringing back into your life because you haven't really resolved those issues from childhood? So that's where therapy might come in. And I don't do therapy, I kind of do coaching, but those might be things to kind of see, looking at the family dynamics. And are you bringing in someone who is abusive? Are you bringing in someone who is degrading? Are you bringing in someone who's supportive? And if you are bringing someone positive, that's great. But if you haven't worked on those issues, those self-love issues and those other family of origin issues, we're going to attract probably the same person to play that out because we haven't cleaned up that little mess from the past.
Wow, I think that's very important for people out there to be able to gather, because so often you're kind of stuck and you don't realize why you're stuck. And so if you can kind of determine, okay, there is a pattern here, and maybe I do need to get some counseling, that would be a great avenue to be able to go to continue on with your healing. So I think you as a coach, it definitely are helping people be more aware of what their needs are, and how to be able to connect with what they need to do. And it's very important what you're doing. It's a very healing, and it really goes to our inner self, our core values and all of that, which is so very vital to us.
And if people if they don't think they need therapy, so to speak, having some kind of mindfulness practice, which allows you to do introspection and reflection, to see, to look at yourself. And that's what I believe like meditation and these mindfulness practices are about. I call them like spiritual psychotherapy, because you're calming the mind to go inward, to really see who you are on this deeper level. And once that happens, then those little past issues start to come up, and then you can try to release them or work through them, or use breath to kind of remove them energetically.
That's very interesting. So let me ask you. Sorry.
It's cold here. And
I know. So let me ask you, if when you're traveling through and you're starting to date, and I think doing this type of work on yourself as you're continuing to date will definitely open some doors for you, because it'll start bringing some information that you've maybe had buried forward as you're starting to build a relationship with someone else. Because don't you agree that sometimes our past sometimes catch up with us a little bit, and then we start to think, wow, as we're moving into another relationship, how can we make that relationship better?
I'm not quite sure.
Well, like, for instance, when you start dating and you meet someone and things are going really well, there's still this nagging feeling that you have in the back that when they do something that might be familiar to you, you're right away going red flag, when the red flag not maybe necessarily on that individual, it's on what you're feeling that happened to you in your past that you haven't resolved.
So again, we kind of bring people into our life to help us learn things, and this person may be the mirror for something that you need to see. And let's say you haven't forgiven your ex for something for whatever, and this person comes in and they're kind of repeating the same thing, you might want to reflect on, well, am I open to forgiving people? Am I in general? Can I forgive this person who I'm currently dating with? And can I then broaden it to forgiving my ex-partner? So that's maybe what they're there. So it's not that person that you're dating, but it's, again, that deeper issue. Is that, am I making some sense?
Yeah, no, absolutely. That's exactly what I was thinking. Is that it's really it's up to us to heal ourselves. It's not, and people do come into our lives, you know, for sometimes for that reason. I think that we have a connection for them with them for a particular reason, and maybe it's because, like you said, we need to see that mirror. We need to see what it is, and so yeah, unfortunately,
so think of it as an opportunity for growth. Brought them in for this reason, and rather than repeating the pattern, you can change it. And that's kind of like the first step for change, is that you have to, you know, instead of unconsciously doing something over and over again, it's like now you become conscious, but you still may be doing it, but you're aware. And then after the awareness happens, well, now I can make a choice. I can choose Y path, or I can choose Z path. I can forgive, or I can still do what I'm doing. But now you have this mindfulness of the behavior and this opportunity for change.
Oh, very interesting. Very interesting. I tell you what, we're going to take a short break. And when we do, let's talk a little bit more about, you know, as we move forward and we're into a relationship, how can we embrace what you're teaching us to be able to, you know, open ourselves up even more than what we've done. And I think we've learned a lot just in this very short time. So I so appreciate you being on the show. So like I said, we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to talk about all that. But give us your contact information real quick so that we have that.
Sure. So my name is Laurae Lorich. I have a wonderful website, which is femininewisdom.com. I'm on Facebook under femininewisdom.com. My other personal website is Lorae, or the Facebook at LoraeLorich.com, which is a bit more political and personal and that kind of thing. So I've kind of separated my business from who I am. And I do Skype and phone sessions. And I think it would be best to call me to set up appointments and things. And it's 415-505-7230.
That's wonderful. So we're going to be right back. We're going to talk a little bit more about, as we move through into a relationship, how can we embrace what Lorae has here to be able to, you know, share with us. And so we'll be right back. This is Cece with Going Solo. You are listening to WGSN-DB Going Solo Network. We want to thank you all for listening to us, and we're coming right on back to the show because we've got a lot to cover in a very short time. We have Lorae with us, which is she is a sexual, let me get it right, because I don't want to mess it up. She is exploring sexuality spiritually and a relationship that both have our bodies, our health, and our connections with the world. And she definitely brings in, I think, a new wave of looking at our lives. And even though it's been around for centuries, I know this has, but it's something for us to be able to change our mindset, to be able to go a little bit deeper within ourselves, to be able to like she said before the first part of the show, you know, embrace our minds, our bodies, and our spirits to be able to move forward, to live our best life. And that's what it's all about. So welcome back to the show.
Thank you, Cece.
Oh, it's great having you. Now, let's talk a little bit about moving into a relationship. Okay, we think we've kind of solved, you know, some of our problems in the past, and we want to embark on something new within our lives. And so we want to be more open to not only our spiritual connection, but also to a connection of others. And can you give us any advice as we're moving through how we can keep ourselves open to embrace those around us?
Sure. So I think what first comes to mind is this really simple tantric practice, and the teacher called it making love with the world.
Oh, interesting.
And from this larger perspective, and I'll explain that in a second, you can bring that into the bedroom to make love with your partner. So the exercise is really simple. We have 5 senses. So it's the sense of sight, smell, taste, sound, and touch. And he said every day you tune into each of the five senses for very brief periods of time, 15, 20, 30 seconds max. So what these are is, I look at them as little mini meditations. So if you think about our lives, they're very fast-paced. We're inundated with all kinds of information. So what this teaches us is to slow down. And so let's say you get up in the morning and it's really cold, you rush into the shower and it's like warm water flushing over your body and it's like, oh, that feels so great. So you just tune into that. That's that feeling. So let's say you're out and you run to Starbucks and they just crush the coffee beans and you walk in and go, and you smell it. You're becoming really present. All of these things help stop that mind chatter that goes on in our brains every day, right? And there's so many people that have a very difficult time to turn that off. Mm-hmm. So this is a training. And he said, after you do this for a while and you're really comfortable with doing the five senses and they're spaced out, then you add another round and another round. This helps you become more present. Because what we do is that we're either living in the past or projecting ourselves in the future. And neither of those, past or future, exist. The only relevancy is the now, is the moment.
Wow, that is great advice. Great advice.
So how you bring this to the bedroom is that your partner is the person that you're making love to. It's not a kind of like a robotic, goal-oriented process. You're using all of your senses to tune into the lusciousness of your partner's body. You're going to taste him or taste her. You're going to smell their fragrance or their skin or the pheromones that happen upon arousal. You're going to hear sighs or moans of pleasure escaping their lips, right? You're going to look at their bodies. You're going to see the shadows or the curves, the color changes in the body. So,
that is
a
great.
very different type of and powerful experience. Mm-hmm. And people do this in a different sense. If there's foodies or you're, gourmet, if you like gourmet food or if you do wine tasting, you do this in those experiences. So why not bring this into the bedroom?
Right? But what it brings to mind is that you're slowing down.
Definitely.
So like you were saying, so fast paced, we do everything so fast paced. And so if we slow down and we do this, and then how many times do you do it during the day? Like
I said, you just do one, each sense once a day, so you're tasting something, let's say early in the morning, then you're seeing something, maybe you're driving home and you see the sunset and you just take 15, 20 seconds to look at the sun, at the sky. And then maybe you're hearing a siren going by and it's like, oh, that's piercing my ears. And maybe you grab some food and you burn your tongue. It's like, oh, you taste and you feel that. So it's just the five senses and space them out and 15, 20, 30 seconds. When you get really good at that, then you add another round of it. So it's not about making these things longer. You just are becoming more and more aware.
Okay. It's almost like having gratitude, isn't it? We often, I suggest to everyone that why don't you do like 3 things that you're grateful for every day? Mm-hmm. Start your day with that or end your day with that so that you can sleep a little bit better, those kind of things. So it's almost like that because you're taking your 5 senses and you're kind of being almost like a gratitude towards mm-hmm. that because we have the ability to smell and touch and all of this. And so we're taking the time out to be present and like you said,
I think it's a genius correlation. So yes.
Yeah, it's wonderful. I think it's definitely wonderful. And then if you can, like you said, you embrace your partner
in the same way.
Yeah. What a compliment you're giving your partner. What an awesome thing that you're sharing with them. Mm-hmm. So that's a wonderful tip that you've given us. And gosh, I think it's great.
And it takes the pressure off performance because many people, when they're in bed, it's usually orgasm focused. So what happens if someone can't quote unquote perform for you, if they can't give you that orgasm? And as the bodies change, There's hormonal influence, there's maybe illness, there's drug interactions that take place with the libido and physical functioning or sexual functioning. So this appreciation of the body is how you can still derive pleasure and connection to someone.
Yes,
I think that was
absolutely.
something that you wanted to talk about as well.
Yeah, I think I think you're so right with that, because I think by slowing it down and going through the five senses and being able to share and connect with your partner like that, it's something that you're actually sharing. It's not so much the sexual being, the sexual act itself, like you said, the orgasm. It's something that you're sharing as a pleasure with each other. And I think you take, like you said, you're taking the focus off of the actual sexual gratification to it, but you're enlightening yourself because you're getting gratification from a lot of different aspects. So yeah, definitely. I can definitely see that this would help many out there, would help many for
right.
sure.
And you're really engaging with the whole of the person. This mind, body, spirit, rather than, again, many people are functioning sexually on the biology, on this programming that, the instinctual that we come hardwired in with.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so,
And the pressure of that
well,
is
there is.
tremendous. Yeah. And I know it, being older, myself, and in the dating arena, I hear it all the time. The pressure that's put on, and I hate to say a lot of the guys, but the gals are sensing it too. And so, that type of pressure that you're putting on the performance level, when you can control the performance by really being more enlightened and slowing the process down and sharing with each other, I think this step of the five senses would definitely would make that interaction, I think, far better.
And I'm starting. I gave a talk a couple of years ago to a men's group, and I had the word sex written on a little big whiteboard, and then I put a circle around it with that line through it, and I said, sex really turns off a lot of people for various reasons, and I won't go into all the reasons, but everybody knows. And then I took that off, and then I said we should change sex into adult intimate play. And I prefer to use that term because play is something that is fun. Play can be very creative. It can be very rejuvenating. It can be relaxing. There's no goal. And it's about pleasure. So you can explore, you can discover, as opposed to, again, this process and goal-orientated thing that people do with sex. And in the adult intimate play, there's so many more variables that you can introduce that people can do. It's not about erection. It's not about orgasm. It may not even involve arousal. It can be just, let's have fun. And how do you want to have that kind of fun? It can be through mutual touching. It can be through breathing. It can be through some of these tantric exercises of like eye gazing, sharing energy, those kinds of things.
Yeah, I mean, that really totally takes the pressure off of the building a relationship, because so often as we are moving through and we're starting to build a relationship with someone, there's so many aspects of building that relationship, like laughter and just enjoying your time together, and it can be the simplest things that you really have a great time with. So it's really opening the doors to a lot of great pleasure as you get older. And so I think it's awesome that you share this with us today, for sure.
So I think part of that, when you're with someone, is to be able to communicate so that you can develop deeper bonds of intimacy. And through intimacy, it's how that is created can be through pleasurable activities, however you want to define them.
Right. And again, communicating with your partner is the key.
Right.
because you have to be able to do that for them to know what you like, what you don't like, what you want, what your expectations are. And maybe you should lower your expectations and just enjoy, a little bit. So that would be kind of cool too.
Well, there's lots of, well, if we'll take this into the bedroom, there's lots of fun things that you can do that don't involve, well, a lot of people think of sex as penetration, but there's lots of other things that can be done to build intimacy that can involve the body that don't involve penetration. And as I said, sometimes men have issues with performance, or they have premature ejaculation or loss of erection due to health issues or medications they're on. Some women don't get engorged anymore, so they may need help with lubrication. And there's things to resolve that, but they're not deterrents to being intimate.
I love how you said that. I really do, because I think that we often think because maybe our performance level is not maybe that high or what it was when we were younger. Sometimes, and I have heard this, is that they feel that their sexual life is over with, and it's not by far. It's totally not. And they have to get out of themselves a little bit and explore, and I think talk with someone like you that can really open so many doors for them to be able to create an awareness that there's so much more to life than just what we think it is as we're growing up. I think as we go into our senior years, there's so much more that is awaiting us, that we can just just be a little bit more open-minded, most certainly.
And the bodies change. So it's like, and you re-referenced it earlier, that we had a certain sexuality maybe in our 20s, and now you're in your 50s, 60s, or 70s, and it's not hormonally driven. There may be some illness or something like that, or hormonal, like I said, hormonal shifts, hormonal problems. So it's really beneficial to see who that person is now and to understand how your body operates. And I think as youth, we had quantity over quality. And now that we're in the more mature years, it's like, I want quality. I want the older wine. I want the deeper bouquet. I want the this richness and understanding of my partner and who they are, as opposed to, the quickie thing that we used to have.
Yeah, I totally get that. And I've said that not as eloquently as you, for sure, but I have definitely felt that as I'm getting older, as I thought, I really want just a more quality of a relationship. I want the time, because so often when we were younger, we were raising our children, we were zooming around, we were doing all kinds of things. I want the time with a partner. I want to be able to experience life and be able to enjoy things. And so it's like, it's just everything. And so I think being older is, and we just had a chat night last night about it, sexy over 50. I think being older is actually awesome. It's I just feel like I'm coming into my element now, and I thought my life was pretty great before, and now I'm thinking like, wow, this is really awesome. So yeah,
there's this wisdom, there's this maturity, there's this experience, and in my work, I have younger men coming to me to learn to understand their bodies, to have an appreciation of how they operate, so that they can, get good partners, and that they can have better relationships. So I think now that there's more baby boomers that are, that we need to be accepted for our experience and our knowledge and our wisdom, rather than, like in the tech world, it's all about the new millennials, and they know everything about computers. But I have a fear that when these kids get into their 40s and 50s, they're going to have a messed up sex life because they don't know how to be intimate. Everything is fast paced. They don't know how to talk to each other. They don't know how to be present with each other. They haven't learned how to connect with someone outside of an artificial device.
Yeah, that's very true. I didn't think
It'll
about
be
it like that.
interesting. Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
And what
very, very so.
their
Yeah.
aging is going to be like. I don't know if I'll be around then, but
You have to put a lot of things in writing so that they can come back and read it.
right.
So yeah, but no, it is true. And it's really all about that connection, isn't it? The connection with yourself, the connection with your spirit, the connection with your partner. I mean, it's really about that connection and slowing down. And I love your advice on the 5 senses. I think that is awesome.
Mm-hmm.
For sure. Yeah, definitely.
And one of the other pieces that when people come to me and I'm working with them, is that I teach them breathing techniques. And again, a lot of this has yoga foundations, but thousands of years ago, these mystic and masters understood the power of breath. And if you really think about it, it's the most important thing that we do, right? I
Yeah.
think it's a ratio of 3s, like 3 weeks without food, maybe 3 days, give or take, without water, and possibly 3 minutes without air, oxygen, before we go into system shutdown, leading to system failure.
Mm-hmm.
And the breath regulates our mind, body, spirit. It can change your mental state, it can change your physiology, it can change your emotions. And our breathing is unconscious. So this conscious breathing that I teach right away is a way to get people to be very present and grounded, get them to de-stress, help them tune in and be more aware.
Oh, absolutely. Well, tell us again, how can we get a hold of you? Because I think that those out there listening definitely need to give you a call, make an appointment. Now, you also, I know you had shared with me that you were going to offer our listeners a special you had, that you was going to do a discounted a Skype coaching for us. Do you want to share that?
I don't have that written down, but yes, if people want to book 3 sessions with me, I will reduce the fee. Normally my fee is between $125 and $150 an hour, but I will give 3 sessions for $100 an hour if they book the 3 sessions in advance.
That's
so
great.
Quite
Yeah.
a bit of a savings. My location is in San Francisco, California. So if anybody's traveling here, I can do in-person sessions, and I do also body work on people, which I think is really, really important to help clear the body of a lot of holding patterns that we have energetically and physically that go back all the way to like childhood. And so again, best way to reach me is by calling 415-505-7230. I have a very old website, and I'm still needing people to help me get it together to build a new one, but it's femininewisdom.com. So there's a lot of information on there. And then Feminine Wisdom on Facebook for some articles that I post about sex and sexuality and spirituality and things that I just find would be beneficial to improve people's lives.
Right, absolutely. And your site, it's Feminine Wisdom, but
Yes.
that doesn't necessarily mean that it's not for men, because I think that if we need to be in tune with our partners, guys out there, and I know I have a lot of guys that listen, I think the best way to be in tune with your partner is really, knowing and understanding more about her and about yourself. And so when we're talking about sexuality, we're talking about, the spirit, the mind, body, all of that connection. It's very, very important for you as a man to really reach out and embrace not only your woman, but embrace yourself. And so I think that's very, very important to us.
Well, it's funny. Most of my clients are male, and then it's couples. And the least that I've worked with is women. And in my community, I have friends that are just the opposite. Most of the clients are female, and then they work with couples, and they won't work with men. So there's kind of a balance there. But just because of the name Feminine Wisdom, I think I'm bringing what. If you really think about it, the feminine is what we need in our culture these days. It's the receptive, it's going inward, it's the nurturing, it's the compassionate. Whereas politically we have, all of this violence and, aggression and too much overthinking and power tripping and things. And so I'm wanting to help bring a balance to both men and women
Yes.
in my work.
God, yeah, I just wanted to make sure that they understood that, because I think it's so important. I really do. I think it's important for us as women to allow men to be men, and also for us to be able to embrace, both of our partners. So whether you're a guy embracing a woman or a woman embracing a man, I think it's very important that we kind of understand that and allow, the difference of sexes to be able to come forward. So certainly. But yeah, well, this is a great show and I enjoyed it so much. Thank you very much. Well, I hope that you guys will listen to what we're hearing today, knowing that you can live anywhere and she will be able to help you. And, to be able to be more in touch with your mind, body, and spirit. I mean, that is truly the ultimate, not only for your own personal gain, but also for your partner. So I hope that you will take what you've listened today and be able to reach Laurae Lauritch, and she will contact you and help you get through all that you need to get through. She's going to give us a reduced price, so I hope you take advantage of that while she's offering that to us. And I think you'll truly enjoy that for sure. Well, this is Cece with Going Solo. I have to say bye for now. You are listening to WGSN-DB Going Solo Network, and we'll see you next time around. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.